Good evening and welcome to my humble modern railway on a very, very hot evening. So you can see what the temperature is in this room. It's well over 80 degrees. I mean, 30 degrees in Celsius. 80, well over 80 degrees, near approaching 90 degrees in Fahrenheit. So very, very hot in here. I did film a video earlier which featured the train which you can see over there in the goods shed. Okay, this is going to be a piece of bonus footage. I've been away from my railway for some considerable time and I haven't had a chance to film. Really has been too hot to come up here, to be honest with you, and I've had to make myself come up here and do this, and also I've had a lot of work to do around the garden. I've been moving a lot of we had to cut down a very, very large sort of bushy tree type thing in the garden, and I had to gradually get that over to the recycling centre. Now, what we got here tonight, we're gonna really sort of talk about the models, okay, briefly, and really about how they came about on my model railway, okay. And we're going to start off without any further ado with this particular lovely model. If I can get it to stop. There are, see, the heat is affecting my ability to control the train even. There we go. A lovely little 062 prairie tank. Small prairie. Okay. And it's number 5550. Okay. Made by Bachmann. It's one of my more recent purchases. So I bought during the lockdown. And if you ask me what I think about these particular modern locomotives, I can wholeheartedly recommend one. Okay, lovely little runner. Okay, and it ran straight out of the box. Now, this was bought. It was an eBay purchase. Okay, I'm not going to tell how much I paid for this, but what I'd say is this: is that prices are going up. Even if second-hand locomotives are going up at the moment, and you know, it's one of those situations where it was the one I wanted. It was in the condition I wanted. And it was from a seller that I've bought from before. Now, I've never had any problems from this particular modern railway locomotive dealer. The Modern Railway Emporium, they're called. I think it's about the 4th locomotive I bought from them, and every single one has been perfect as described, and they've all run well, virtually straight out of the box. In fact, this ran well straight out of the box. I have given it a quick lube, well, that's about all. But it does run very, very nicely, as you can see. And these were seen on branch lines. Okay, pulling passenger trains, very much the same as this one here. 2 and 3 coach passenger trains. Very, very nice model. In fact, I've had a very happy afternoon being pulled by locomotives similar to this on the West Somerset Railway, which runs between Bishop Lydiard and Minehead. Had a little day out in Minehead, or maybe even a couple of hours, just a couple of hours if I've gone in the afternoon. Bought fish and chips near the station, walked down the prom, down the seafront, and I bought an ice cream and then walked back, and then very often after a little walk around got the train back. So this gives me very, very, very happy memories watching a train like this go round. Now we're going to bring her in just a second. Like we say, it's very much a piece of bonus footage. I thought I'd make a second video, and this is all coming basically off the top of my head. And I'm really doing my best, you know, considering it's quite hot here. I've noticed looking on the online on YouTube that a couple of YouTubers have had to abandon their railway because of the heat, and that's because they're up in the attic. Luckily I've got, at least I can open up the window and bring the temperature down just a little. Now when you see my trains running, you have to always bear in mind that all this goes out, sort of early this afternoon, and it's all going to go back away shortly. I'll be dismantling everything, and so you do get the occasional problem with sort of loose fish plates and everything else, but it's one of the small price to pay for having something that is mobile. Okay, it's perfectly mobile. If I get to be a little bit more serious and I decorate this layout, what I'll probably do is I'll probably do the same thing as always. I won't pin the track down, I'll just keep it like it is. So I'll just assemble it for each running session. I may hear a lot of people shout out, no! But it does mean that if I do get any ropey pieces of track, I can always replace them quite easily. And it's what suits me at the moment. I've got my little glass of water there, so for all of you, if you are sort of smarter in the heat, keep yourself hydrated. Ooh, not bad. That is water, by the way. There's no whiskey in there. Now, let's bring this lovely little locomotive in. There's lovely detail on it. I've done a video on this, so I think all of these locomotives here somewhere featured in a video somewhere or another in the past. Okay, so we're just going to bring her up to the signal there, and we're going to run her in. Now, one thing which you always look for on a locomotive, and the acid test for me, is how the locomotive goes over points. It will give you a great indication of the condition of the locomotive, the cleanliness of the track and the cleanliness of the wheels. I must admit, I don't go mad on it, but if anything does start to run a bit erratic, that will be the first thing I'll be looking for, is dirty wheels and maybe a piece of dirty track. Okay, that's the points there. Okay, you can see my point arrangement there. That's basically two right hand points, Hornby right hand points joined together there. You've got another little junction coming off there to make the station up. Now, some people might point out that this is an island platform, and yes, you would not find an island platform at the average railway terminus, but I've used basically what I've had. This was left over from one of my previous model railway layouts that I had in the past, and the island platform suited my purposes quite well there. Now, the next locomotive, if you imagine this is one of my more recent purchases just here. This is one of the first purchases I ever made. Okay, and we'll talk about how this one came to being in my collection. Now, this one was bought on eBay. Very, very nice, nice people. Okay, always seem to, well, for me at least, I've had a good experience with these sellers and Modern Railway Emporium. Okay, so that's online. This one was actually bought in a shop, okay, many years ago. How it survived is anybody's guess, okay, and I'll explain to you a little bit about that in a minute. Okay, it might be a little bit reluctant to run because I don't run it very often. It's one of the very first locomotives I ever bought, okay, and it's a mainline split chassis model. Okay, nothing wrong with that in my opinion. We'll just see if she'll pull away from the station. It might be, oh, there we go, it's working perfect. There we go. A little bit quicker at the station, but there we go. It's galloping out the station there. Waiting for the signal to go. 060 Collett goods. Now, this locomotive had actually had some changes made to it before I actually bought it. Okay. And we'll talk a little bit about modern railway shops while we're watching this one go round. When the lockdown is now being relaxed a little bit, and I feel a bit happier about it, I'll be making a journey. The first thing I'll be doing is making a journey to a modern railway shop to have a look round. Okay, something I've missed. There we go, here it comes, my little 060 Collett goods. Putting a couple of well, basically they're you could say these coaches behind it are mainline 2. I mean, one of them's replica railway, but basically it's identical to a mainline. And then the brake coach is in fact a mainline 1. Just slow it down a minute because we're doing a scale speed of about 250 miles an hour there. Okay, so it's going around quite nicely now. Now, there used to be a model railway shop in Bristol called Trains of Bristol, and it was run by I think it was by a father and son combination. Okay, and he eventually sold his shop and retired. But this was one of those kind of shops where you could walk in and you could talk about trains for hours. I'd only just started the hobby, and he was very, very kind, and you know, gave me lots of good advice about modern railways and trains. He was a great, they were a great Western enthusiast, being from Bristol, so quite rightly so, of course. And now what I'd done is I'd been on the West Somerset Railway for one of my usual trips. Okay, you know, up the line, get off at the station, there's a little fish and chip shop there. You buy your fish and chips, walk along the seafront, trying to avoid the seagulls, buy an ice cream and then walk back, and then usually have a walk around, then catch a train back. Okay, and one of the locomotives which was actually running on the railway was this 3205 Collett goods. Now I think this person might have actually remodeled this one. It's certainly been changed from a Great Western livery into British Rail livery, and the actual Great Western wording's been removed from the tender, and it's been replaced by the early Great Western crest. Sorry, the early British Rail crest. Sorry, I did say the heat was actually melting my brain, and it is. Okay. Now I saw this. I walked into the shop, and there it was in the glass case. Okay, unboxed, totally unboxed. 3205. Now quite recently been on a train being pulled by this locomotive. I don't think it's in steam at the moment. Okay, and there it was, 3205. I just simply had to have it. It was relatively inexpensive, and I've been running it on and off since I bought it in 1992, and I suspect probably the model itself originated from the late 1970s. Now if that's the case, then this model is about 40-50 years old. Okay, and you can see it running quite well now. I did have to do some work on it recently. Now I will freely admit I did over-oil this locomotive. Okay, it hadn't been run for a long time, and it did run, and it went around the track and it started to make its own smoke effect. Plumes of smoke coming out of it, and then it suddenly just stopped. Then it went again, and it stops again, it smokes a bit. I thought, well, and as it would turn out, I mean, this is a split chassis locomotive, so there's no wiring, so any smoke coming out of it is more likely to be excessive oil. Okay, I had to take this apart and completely clean it. So I've taken the motor out, taken the motor to pieces, cleaned the commutator, cleaned the brushes, cleaned up all the springs, give it a good lube, cleaned up the excess oil, and it's going back together again. It was quite stiff to start with, but it's gradually getting better and better and better. And as you can see, it's running quite well now around the track. But I'd say that's one of my early purchases, and as I've said in previous videos, I did not get into my model railway hobby until about 1992, and I was in my 30s. Okay, I was in my 30s, and it was only because I started to travel by train in connection with my work, and that kind of sort of stimulated the interest. It was the seeds by which the interest came about. And then I started to, a program came on by a railway author. It was actually narrated by a railway author called David St John Thomas. Okay, and he owned a railway publishing company, and he was based in Newton Abbot, okay. And this programme, it was talking about seaside railways, and he talked about it with such enthusiasm. I was just drawn in, okay. From that time, hooked, okay. So you can I can thank him for bringing me into this, having me bring into this marvellous hobby. Okay, so it's been a combination of, over the years, of travelling on preserved railways and of travelling on travelling around on the model railway scene as well. Okay, so we're going to bring our lovely little collett goods in. Like I say, it's going to be only a bonus footage on this. Now, if you ever are offered a split chassis locomotive, I would say, as long as you've got a set of screwdrivers, some contact cleaner, which I always use contact cleaner to clean everything now, and that just blows away all the crap from it, from everything. Then that's what to use, and you don't mind getting stuck in. You can actually take one of these apart. Once you're used to taking one of these, taking a split chassis locomotive to pieces, you'll wonder what the fuss is all about. Okay, very few parts, no wires. Now hear this, no wires. Okay, so they're not bad actually. This is a mainline version, and we're just going to bring her into the station now. Okay, so we'll just change the points, and in she comes. She's derailed. It does happen occasionally with this particular one, but bear in mind, this poor little model, he's getting on for 50 years old, and he just needs a little bit of a helping hand there. But it's a very, very nice locomotive, and I can forgive it almost anything. There we are. That's the first time it's done that today, and it could be just down to the track down here already, because like I say, I do get sort of put this out for each running session, and it could have been the point wasn't right over or something. It could be anything like that. But there we are. Nice, lovely little train now, lovely little locomotive. Now, the next one in our little firework display of locomotives is going to be the little brown engine up here, our little LMS one. You've seen it in previous videos, and it's all to do with my, and it relates to my little series I did about saving a certain amount of railway equipment from the skip. Now this was one of my worst ever runners, okay, and I'll explain to you why as it goes around. Some of you might not have seen the videos in which I actually talk about this particular locomotive and how I obtained it, but for those of you who have not seen it, I'll sort of tell the story briefly again. Now we just watch it first of all. Now watch this. I mean, see this, there's a set of points there, okay, right, you just sort of go over a set of points there. Now bear in mind this is an 040. Okay, it went over the points there, a slight hesitation, but it went over, okay, didn't stop or anything, and the running is improving more and more and more. You watch it go over this set of points now. See, a small hesitation there because a little 040, it's a dead spot, but now it's running perfectly smoothly. It was jerking when I first had it. It was jerking in, it would only run fast, okay. Now it's running more slowly. And what happened was, it was a certain amount of modern railway equipment that was offered to me, and it had been kept in a shed, okay, a leaky shed. You can see it now, it's going over the points beautifully, okay. Now if you imagine, it was in all of it was in it was in a kind of a large tub with no drain holes at the bottom, okay, and everything was soaking wet. The boxes soaking, sopping wet. And inside was these inside this thing were 2 train sets and some other locomotives in rolling stock. Now I managed to dry the boxes out, okay, I managed to get some of the locomotives ran straight away. I'll give them a little bit of an oil in, but some of the locomotives ran straight away. This one ran terrible, okay, and I'm not surprised. Yeah, I mean, you know, it'd been kept in this wet shed for such a long time, and as you see there, I mean, it did have a slight stop on the points there, but I'll give it run a little bit faster. It's gradually becoming one of my best runners. Okay, a little bit more speed, and the speed will carry it over the points quite nicely now. And it's an NMS. Now, do I mind running an NMS train on my Great Western layout? You know, I mean, some people might say, well, you know, let's attack it with pitchforks, but no. And the NMS had running powers into Bristol Temple Meads, and they also ran over a large part of the West Country. Okay. Certainly on the they had their own routes up to Gloucester. Okay, and then they had running powers into Bristol Temple Meads station, so you could see NMS locomotives in the Bristol area. And in fact, one of my old neighbours, sadly passed away now, he actually worked on the NMS in Bristol. So there was actually NMS were also based in Bristol as well. I think it was Bristol Barrow Road. The Great Western was in Bristol Bath Road, and I think the NMS was in Barrow Road. Okay, so I don't mind running an NMS locomotive on my layout. In fact, I might be looking out for some NMS locomotives to go with to complement the Great Westerns. Okay. Now, lovely little 040. And as you see, it was running really terrible. I took it apart, lubricated it and everything else. I think the con rods, the connecting rods, were slightly bent. The coupling rods, let's say, okay, between the wheels. They were slightly bent. I think they were catching on the body as well, which didn't help, on some part of the body. But as you can see now, we've got it running very, very well. Now, the only thing which don't belong to this particular one is the brake van on the back. I added that for realism. That's a very, very one of my favourites. It's an old, battered Great Western brake van. It looks like it's been through World War III. Okay, I've given it a good clean up. I can't remember when I bought this. I probably bought it at some a modern railway show. Okay, or I probably had it given to me. But yeah, it's been a buffer's missing on it. I think the brake handle's missing from inside. Has been snapped off as well, but it's here and it runs on it's running on my layout. Okay. I mean, I'm a believer in keeping things. I mean, what I might do is carry out some repairs on it, maybe find a replacement buffer for it. The buffer is actually part of the moulding, unfortunately. You can't actually just pull the buffer off and put another one on. So I need to find a way of getting around that particular problem. Okay, but as you see, lovely little brake van. And then the carriage and the two wagons were part of the train set. Okay, part of the train set. And we're going to run her in. I'm going to run her in now. Our lovely little NMS. There we are. So we'll now we should see. There we are. Ran over those points as sweet as a nut. And we're in the station there. Okay, and of course it can put into a passenger station because they've got a passenger coach on it. Now, the last train you'll see running around quite briefly is going to be the one I did in an earlier video. I've actually put on the internet. In fact, it might have uploaded by now. It was actually uploading from my computer a little while ago. And we'll see if we can get this to run. There we go. Now this one is a post-lockdown purchase. and it's a Mainline 062 tank engine, really built for the Welsh coalfields, but they were seen on passenger as well as freight duties. Okay, and it was to go with I made a video earlier, if you'll be able to catch that. That's only just gone out today, and it talks about this Oxford Rail brake van here, 6-wheel towed brake van. Okay, one of the things I was wondering was how a 6-wheel towed brake van will go over my layout, and of course you've just seen the answer. It just went over that set of points lovely there. Okay, and we'll run around as well. I bought this, it came from a modern railway seller on eBay from Wales, from somewhere in Wales, and it arrived in lovely condition as well. Very, very happy with it. It did run erratically when I first had it. It was running, but it ran erratically. Again, it's one of the ones where I've taken it completely to pieces and put it back together again. But with a split chassis, which this one is another split chassis locomotive, they're quite easy to take apart. Okay, as long as you've got a camera, you take your pictures like I say. You've got a set of screwdrivers, some contact cleaner and some cotton buds, and you can be well away in no time. Okay, and yeah, obviously you need to, I like to take pictures of things of how it all goes together. Okay, so now we're just going to set the points here now, and we're running around. And obviously there's already been a rather long video feature today doing this, but this is all part of the bonus footage for today. Now, you'll see she's a very good runner as well. The gears were very, very, very noisy. I mean, you might think this is noisy, but they all sound like this, sir, and they do. Okay. It was making out some very, very kind of unsettling noises, let's say. But I took it all apart. I've greased all the cogs in the wheels inside. I mean, there is a lot of cogs between the in one of these, between the motor and then the actual axle that's being driven. But as long as you're sensible when you're taking it apart and putting it back together again, it's not too much of a problem. And again, I took the brushes out and the springs, the commutator, cleaned everything up in the engine. These have got what they call a pod motor. And so you'll find these motors in a lot of the mainline models, pod motors. And basically what it's all they do, there's no electrical wires in them. The motor just sits on the top of the chassis and it gets its electrical current from the chassis. So the current is going directly from the wheel, at one side of the chassis, through the motor, down the other side, and away we go. Very, very simple construction. And it's putting, well, these were built for the coal industry. I've actually talked quite a lot about the length about the coal industry already on here. Now what I do is, I don't know when I'm going to put this one out, because they do take quite a long time to process on my computer. My computer was, I actually built this myself about 10 years ago, and it's still going strong, but I don't know how long it should take to render a video, but so yeah, a 35-minute video is going to take a couple of hours to render, so I might leave that now, leave it now until tomorrow for putting this video out. Okay, so I'm actually filming this on Wednesday night, but it might be going out during Thursday. Okay, now what I do is I'm going to bid you farewell. Okay, I hope you found this of interest. Like I say, I've filmed 2 videos in one day, really, and it's because I've been away from my railway for quite some time. Okay, just simply because so I've had things to do around the house, like gardening and a bit of a garden clearance as well. So around she goes. Probably on the way from somewhere like the big pit coal mine in Wales, on his way down to maybe on his way down to the docks, maybe, who knows. Designed for carrying coal, of course. Now it's very, very hot up here. I'm probably starting to get a little bit incoherent, possibly, I don't know. No, the temperature's not fallen at all. Okay, and I'm going to bid you farewell before my brain melts totally.